Going overseas, our CTE programs, of course, evolved as well too to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students, which was going to be a little higher paced.
If you guys are like literally closing the loop and connecting them with the job readiness in real sense,
Mhm.
I think the people throw that word a lot commonly, but you guys are meaning it, so that makes a lot of sense.
I think one of the biggest parts of it is the ability for problem solving and critical thinking, and especially in this world nowadays where things are changing constantly.
Either the instructional coaches or educators, how are you upskilling them to start being comfortable with AI?
Christian has been an amazing source for us as a trainer, for our admin and also our teachers with it. And it's one of those things as we're working closely with them is how can we expand this to not just be our students or our teachers and admin, but to our students and also community.
Perfect. So, hello, fellow educators and school leaders. Welcome back on Tomo Club podcast series. I'm Avinash Bansal, co-founder of Tomo Club, and today we have Superintendent Morgan Nugent from Fall River Joint Unified School District joining us. Welcome to the show, Morgan.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, Morgan. If you can, quickly introduce yourself for our folks, a little bit brief about your journey, it'll be great.
So the name's Morgan Nugent. Been superintendent here at Fall River now going into my second year. Prior to that, I was over there in Susanville over as a high school superintendent. And prior to that, I was also had the opportunity to serve our kids both over in Japan and also over in Osan, South Korea, where I was the principal of our military children overseas. And prior to that, I was also over in Georgia, over there at great school there at Laster, there in Marietta, Georgia, and had a lot of opportunities to be experiences from everything from high achieving schools to rural communities. And it's been one of the greatest opportunities to serve our young students.
Wow, I think the international experience must have been very phenomenal. And thank you for serving in the army in a way. I highly appreciate that. So today's topic is going to be about career and technical education and how we guys are planning those pathways for our children. So first thing that I want to ask you, like straightforward, between your previous states before your previous districts experience versus your international experience, what has been the difference in career choices among kids that you have seen?
It's been really exciting. And it was one of those situations of being there in Metro Atlanta. We had a very high performing school. We were about 3,500 students there at the school. Some amazing high achieving students, and we had some cutting edge programs over there, but a lot of it was tied more towards the tech side. And even when I went to another school up there in northern Georgia with the increase of automotive plants being moved into the area, a lot of our CTE programs became more directed to fill those job positions there that were becoming readily available. Going overseas, our CTE programs, of course, evolved as well too to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students, which was going to be a little higher paced. Currently, we're over here in Northern California, which is located more, it's near Redding, California. We're about 60 miles away from Redding. We have a very high reliance on our timber industry up here, as well as construction with it. We ended up totally revamping our program to meet those needs so we can ensure that our kids could be hired here locally, as well as still pushing, of course, with our AP programs for our students, for some of our high achieving kids. But the biggest part of it is we ended up recalibrating our schools to meet those needs. So this upcoming year, we're actually going to be doing a heavy equipment program. We're also doing an EMT and also emergency medical response because those were the needs here locally, as well as a truck driving program for our seniors in the second semester. And then on top of it, we actually have our construction trade program, who's actually going to be building homes for our teachers. So we'll actually be doing tiny home construction because there's such a huge shortage of teacher housing that's making it really difficult for us to fill our positions. And it gives us that extra leg up to go ahead and help hire for those high need positions like our science and math. And then our goal is that later on, working with our local partners in education, is to actually take a look at actually building regular 2, 3 bedroom homes for our teachers through the use of our construction trade program.
No, absolutely. In fact, I remember I had a discussion with Superintendent of Loma Prieta Unified School
Mhm.
District, and they have a very similar situation. They're also in Northern California. That because of the lack of people working on the local jobs, it's so difficult to fill even the basic requirements, and all the students are running towards the urban centers. So
Mhm.
he's like, it's so important as a school to attract students work locally and for the community. And I think I'm glad you guys are recalibrating your entire plan around it.
Well, it's an evolving process. I think that's the most important piece as a school administrator is that you don't just do what you've done everywhere else. You have to be able to evolve to meet your local needs. And for us to be able to go ahead and also look at recruiting individuals for our physics or for our pre-calc calculus programs, we have to be able to meet those basic needs of housing. And one of the nice parts is it too is that we know that for every 10 retirees currently on the construction field, there's only 4.3 people who are filling those positions. In California, we're already dealing with a major housing crisis as it is, along with also difficulty of finding people to go in who are entering the profession. And that's the opportunities where we have to really take a look outside the box is how are we able to recruit individuals to fill those needs and not just rely strictly on a computer to teach our kids. It's a great resource, but we need that face-to-face interaction. We need those personal relationships to be able to be built between our teachers and our students. And even I said teachers, it also goes to our other employees too. We know the impact of everything from a paraprofessional, a bus driver to maintenance. They all have positive impacts on our kids. And we need to find the best people to fit into those positions to really help our kids achieve what they're capable of.
Right. No, 100%, absolutely. So give me an idea of what a structure look like in the CTE pathways, like how you guys, which grade level do you guys start from? Do you have special instructors for it? Do you have sessions every week? Can you give me a walkthrough of how a program looked like?
So to be honest with you, we're very much in the infancy stage. So this is only starting the second year here with Fall River Joint Unified. Our goal is to actually bring it all the way down into the elementary schools, where we take a look at the makerspace classrooms as well. So we want our kids working with their hands, problem solving at a very early age, because that doesn't just help out for those construction or heavy equipment programs. Kids who are having to think and problem solve are going to help produce our future engineers, our future doctors with it too. But by the time they get to the high school level, we do have some very highly skilled individuals who've got experience, everything from the forestry side with it to heavy equipment operator, road construction, and also home construction. Our EMT program, we're excited to take a look at where that goes simply because we have individuals who've got, 20 plus years of being a paramedic or EMT. We're able to go ahead and be able to show kids, here's some of the situations and scenarios that they're going to face. It also helps prepare those kids who may not have the resources to go ahead and go off to a 4 year college. Financially, they might not be able to afford it. We're training kids to be able to take jobs that they can go ahead and continue their education. It's not a situation of saying simply, here's a piece of paper, congratulations, here's your diploma. Good luck at that next stage of your life. We want to make sure our kids are job ready when they leave here and to provide that chance that here's your certification, either as a mechanic on the heavy equipment or as an operator, or here's a truck driving license, or also here's your EMT certification that allows you to go ahead and help save lives.
No, absolutely. I think that's very interesting. If you guys are like literally closing the loop and connecting them with the job readiness in real sense.
Mhm.
I think the people throw that word a lot commonly, but you guys are meaning it, so that makes a lot of sense. In general, for all the students that go through this CT program, what's the most common skill that you think, or what's the most important skill that you think they need to work upon?
Was that as a superintendent or as a student? I
a-
apologize.
as a student? Like for
As a
those
student,
people going through their career readiness, what's the most important component?
I think one of the biggest parts of it is the ability for problem solving and critical thinking, and especially in this world nowadays where things are changing constantly.
Mm.
A student who is unable to go ahead and take a look at a problem and break it down into solvable chunks is going to continue to struggle with that piece. And as educators, we also have to be understanding that we're dealing with young minds who may also have some struggles on that critical thinking piece, especially if it's something that we haven't introduced yet. And I know some of the frameworks that are in place, we're trying to work on that critical thinking at a younger age, but the going beyond just the book into here's something that's in front of you. How do you break this down into solvable chunks? I think has got to become a priority for us because that's with what we do every day within our lives, and especially even as a superintendent, we deal with things that get thrown at us that are never in a book, and we have to break them down into solvable chunks. And especially with the COVID epidemic, we all had to get a chance to get stretched really quickly in how to solve issues. And if we were simply waiting for solutions, we were spending a lot of time waiting and reacting to ever-changing situations where when that happens, really our students and our teachers really become frustrated. And I think we're still dealing with some of that recovery piece. And also trust within our communities of they have superintendents who are able to problem solve and ensure that their students are able to actually be in school and achieve up to what they're really capable of. And I think that's one of the things for us is that we really have to think on not just as a student of what is their potential, but even as a superintendent is what is your schools capable of? What is the potential that we're having? Are we being stuck within the simple situation of this is what we've always done and this is our sacred cows? And sacred cows are important for us to celebrate, but the problem is that it might be time to change too. Something that we were really successful with back in the 90s or early 2000s, if we're still relying on that success and we haven't made a change, then we're falling behind and failing our kids and more importantly, also our communities.
Right. No, absolutely. Agreed on that. What if we flip this and I ask you a question? What is that skill that is mostly like ignored or kind of overlooked when you talk about CTE?
I think part of it is also that student input
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
and really hearing what that need is. Um, Too often we have our blinders on as the school administrators, teachers. It was interesting as we took a look in regards for here in California, we got the thing called Prop 28, which is additional funding. 1% of our LCF funding was directed to the arts. And when we took a look at, okay, how do we develop a strong art program? We only looked at, okay, here's your drama, here's your music, and here's your art of, your oil or pastels or whatever else. And it's like, wait a second, take a look at the welding piece with it, the industrial art work that some of those people do, especially in regards for sculpture with it. Um, and it's a skill that's something that's actually very profitable for kids as well, too. And I think sometimes we just have to step back. We have to look at, okay, what are the interests of the students? Because if we can't engage the students and we're just simply pushing a curriculum through, the kids are very good at sitting,
Hmm.
and some of them are really good kids, and they'll pass the class, but when they leave the class, they will not have learned what we were hoping to get through to them.
Yeah.
And we just had very passive kids who were just sitting there. We've got to take a look, and knowing that our kids are capable of so much more, we have to be able to take a look at listening and finding where their love is and what their desire, and help to feed that. Help to encourage those kids to take those chances as well. Some of them is going to end up in horrible failure with it, but to maybe go take a look at saying, okay, what caused it? What can we do to help support that piece? And I think, going back to that listening stage and really hearing what those interests are is critical for those students to find success versus us holding up to our our laurels of the past or also our image of what learning should look like.
Yeah.
Because I'll just be honest with you, learning is, we're still using the same model often as what we saw back in the late 1800s with the educational model. And as we take a look at how AI has progressed and the capabilities and the amount of knowledge that our kids are having at their fingertips with it, if we're not changing what we're doing to meet those students' needs, we're really limiting ourselves and we're limiting the opportunity, not just for our community, but also our country to progress too. And, you know, we see more and more interest of students to um, pursue education strictly on a computer. I think we're doing more of a disservice for those kids because education is more than just a few clicks away. It's that interaction, the personal relationships that are built, how to deal with adversity and turmoil that they're going to face. And those are those things that a good quality teacher in a classroom setting can see and help build those kids up to being successful. And I think that's also one of the reasons why the CTE classrooms are so important because the kids learn by doing. It's not just simply learning by sitting. You know,
Yeah.
we've got to get to the spot where kids are actually doing something and creating something. And that's how society flourishes, is when we deal with creation versus stagnation.
Right. No, I think student input a very important part. So, what do you think is the most sought after career in among the kids right now in your district?
Well, right now we're seeing a huge change. You know, previously we were always telling kids you needed to get a four-year education in order to be successful. And we're seeing the drop of the number of students who are going off to four-year universities with it, and now starting to pursue more of the technical career side as well. I think that's good and bad with it. But it goes back to that situation of listening and seeing where those interests are. We need to make sure kids have the skill set to be able to go either way. Is it a situation they're going to pursue to be a doctor or a lawyer, or is it something that they're going to be looking at going into the masonry side or plumbing or electrical? Um, and more importantly, is what skills are going to help a child be successful? I think a lot of kids right now are starting to go into the mindset that they don't want to go to college and sit
Mhm.
for another 4 to 6 years and then have a huge debt. But at the same time, too, I'm really concerned is just as we made that big shift to pushing every kid to a four-year university, we ended up seeing a huge lack of individuals who are trained to do those other skill sets that we need within our communities. So finding that balance is going to be critical. And that's one of the areas that we're, you know, just to be honest, we're struggling and talking with our administrators on is how do we build up our AP program or our dual enrollment programs to meet those kids who are high achieving. But even likewise, a dual enrollment course can still be taking place even on our heavy equipment operator program, where a
Mhm.
kid who has that chance to take a college class and actually pass sees that, hey, I did this. And in maybe 5, 10 years down the road, they may say, you know what, I'm tired of sitting in a backhoe and operating it or a bulldozer. I'm wanting to go ahead and take a look at construction management. And I've already passed, 2 or 3 college courses when I was in high school, and I was successful then. I know I can be successful now.
Nice.
And I think that's the biggest part is making sure that we've got kids who see that they can be successful at multiple stages of their lives.
Right. That's good because in general, when I talk to a lot of schools leaders, like like being a TikToker or being a YouTuber is one of the most common sought after thing, at least among the teenagers, till they get into high school. But yeah, I'm glad to know there are much broader opportunities than just IT and content creation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you still know that your program is in infancy right now. It's very early stage. So what is the most common challenge you have seen till now in its implementation?
A lot of it is a situation of the mind shift for folks who, have always relied on past programs. Well, this was very successful. We ended up having a program that really helped our students in regards for office um, with it. Positions, okay, here's your copy and collating and everything else. And it's like, well, Kinko's is gone. We need to progress beyond that piece of there of what can we teach our kids to go ahead and actually be ready for those future jobs with it. Um, and I think a lot of it too is the mindset of our kids capable of doing this. And I think that was one of the most interesting spots. We were working with a group of folks as well on this tiny home project. And I was like, well, no, we need to have 4 or 5 years of programs to lead up to this. And I was like, I totally disagree with you because the kids where we're at currently, they are on the job sites with their parents. Like I said, we're a small rural community. Our kids are used to swinging a hammer, using a welder, and doing some of those things that kids in the city probably have never had an experience with. And that's why I think a lot of it goes back to is we have to evaluate where we are, what skill sets kids have, and what skill sets kids will need down the road. And a lot of it goes, like I said, back to that critical thinking and problem solving. Um, and what that looks like is going to be different. Just as that same school there in Marietta, Georgia, our kids had a different skill set based off of their experiences. And we have to be able to adjust our schools to fit our current community's needs. And I think that's one of the things of thinking beyond the box and not just simply looking at what we've always done or what's been successful at other places. Because, um, when I was overseas with our military kids, we had one of the strongest AP programs in the nation, and also even internationally with it. Here, we're going to have to grow that program as well for our high achieving kids. And also, here, a kid can, I think one of the most interesting spots I said, we had a tremendous pass rate for our AP programs overseas, where we even had students who had an IEP taking AP courses. At the same time, those AP courses were tended to end up being either 2D or 3D art, where those kids had that chance to have that success. Um, Here, we're going to be taking a look at building our program based off of what we see those students are in need of and where that chance of success may come from. So not just following the simple cookie cutter approach that this worked at blank location, so we should be able to implement it here. We have to be flexible because every kid's so different. Every community has different needs. And our job as educators is to prepare kids to be entering the workforce and to be strong leaders. And if we're just stuck on here's a specific model that we've been successful in the past,
Mhm.
it won't work every place. We have to be able to change to fit the school needs.
So the biggest problem has been the unlearning part, getting
Mhm.
out from the old processes.
Oh, 100%. And, and I think part of it too, I think one of the biggest challenges we have is to really help support those young educators as
Mhm.
well. And especially on that mentoring piece. If we simply say, well, this is the way we used to do it the last 20 years, well, that's great, but our kids are very, very different. The
Right.
challenges that our kids are facing now versus 20 years ago has changed so much. 20 years ago, the number of kids who were walking around our school with cell phones was just maybe a couple. It was just a handful
Yeah.
of them. And now we're dealing with a situation where we're dealing with the anxiety issues of kids when they don't have their cell phones with them because they're in a pouch, or they're away from the kid for a second. And as educators, we have to realize is that these younger generation of teachers coming in have some different tools and resources that we should also be learning from them to be able to reach out and connect with those kids. Likewise, the young ones to be able to listen and hear some of those experiences on how to deal with some of the challenges that get thrown at a everyday educator today.
No, absolutely. I think the student themselves have like I think the generation gap now comes within 3 years,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
so which was usually a decade thing. Now it's coming out within 3 years. I stopped relating with people, right? So
Yep.
I totally understand that fact. But so I want to address one of the biggest thing that I haven't started with is about AI.
Mhm.
It's not a buzzword. It is actively reshaping our industries and job roles. Maybe not equitably. It's not going to impact everywhere at the same time and at the same pace. It makes a lot of economical sense. to invest in those kind of technologies. And even those technologies, cost is getting cheaper by the day. So even if you talk about carpentry or timber cutting or using heavy machinery or truck driving, construction, they maybe not get impacted immediately, like up in the north, but it will happen
Oh,
soon,
1%.
right?
Yeah.
So how do you how have you planned according to that?
Well, I said we ended up, of course, I had a chance to be one of the members of the California School Board Associations. We took a look at creating the policy for the AI with it. Even prior to that was a situation of being one of the front people to see and utilize AI within my job. And then also start the training process for our teachers because our kids are always our first learners. As soon as something comes out, we may think that we're one of the first learners with this new technology, but the kids were already doing it beforehand. They were embracing it, and we had to play catch up really quickly. And a lot of it was also going in the situation of training our teachers and also administrators of here's what tools and resources that it brings, because our kids are already aware of it and we're already utilizing it.
Right.
If we're being foolish enough to think that the kids are not going to be impacted or even the job opportunities that are out there by the use of AI, then it's time for us to retire on that end because AI is here. It's not going to go away. The worry behind it is just even as we ended up bringing in the cell phones, we saw that as a huge opportunity to be aware of where our students were in case they broke down or whatever else, or if I ever needed to get a hold of my kid and tell them something. We embraced it so quickly that it also ended up having other side effects that came with it, specifically the bullying, the 24/7 bullying that takes place now with the cell phones. A lot of schools are trying to adjust to that piece. But I remember also celebrating. It's like, great, we've got a calculator in every kid's hand. We have a mini computer in every kid's hand. Now we have a whole lot of other issues that also came with it.
Right.
So we have to go ahead and really strategically take a step back and say we have a huge, powerful tool at our fingertips that has so much potential that we don't even understand that yet of what its capabilities are. And it's only growing and growing so quickly. But the same part too is we now have to take a look at what are we teaching that may be made uh, non-relevant with the use of AI. We
Right.
have a situation where kids can instantly pull up information right away.
Mhm.
Accuracy is still coming. It's still not as perfect as what we'd like it to be, but it's only going to get better with time. So what are we teaching? Are we teaching a situation that we need to make sure every kid knows what 5 times 5 is? Or do we need to take a look at really teaching the kids on how to make sure that what they're searching is actually accurate? Because we've already seen the situation where AI can be abused with it. And I think it goes back to that critical thinking piece. If we're
Absolutely.
relying on AI to do all the critical thinking for us, then I'm really afraid of what that means for not just the student, but our society as a whole if we take that opportunity away from a kid. So um, it's going to be interesting to see, how this progresses. Within my timeline, this is 28 years now as an educator. This is an area that we never thought about that we would ever deal with, even though we saw the Terminator as a
Yeah.
movie. And that was, the situation of like, oh shoot, Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to,
Mm.
destroy the world or save the world. But now it's reality with it. And how do we adjust to live with that? How do we go ahead and take a look at what jobs are going to be there for our kids and what skill sets do we need to teach our kids? Which ones are we going to turn and rely on AI to handle? Um, and which ones are we going to still see that are going to be necessary? And I think that's one of the reasons why even with the CTE programs that we've chosen, a lot of those are jobs that are still labor intensive
Mm.
with it. Um, but sooner or later, AI is going to be able to drive those semi trucks.
Right.
AI is going to be able to go and take a look at the timber, which trees we need to fall, which ones we need to go ahead and handle, whatever else, which one's more fire prone than other areas. Where do we need to put our resources and energy into? But I'll be honest with you, this is still so we we unleashed the bull in our school, and we're trying to figure out how to contain and handle that with it. It's exciting. It is scary at the same time, but it opens up opportunities that we could really take advantage of for our students. And I think it's a spot where if we're so scared of AI and we're not going to go ahead and we're going to try to hide all of our kids and our staff from, we're going to do more of a disservice
100%.
um, with it because it's not going to go away. We just have to go ahead and get ourselves caught up to it. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think we're ever going to be able to catch up with it. I think we're always going to be behind on that part for now. But it's something that we've got to learn how to utilize to our advantage at the same time.
No, absolutely. I think that's the whole point of this, that when you said that we need to handle it, I am sure you are already on the step one of being aware about it. And
Mhm.
that's the most important thing right now, because many people are even denying
Yeah.
to align with it. So I think kudos to that. And you're right. Critical thinking always becomes the centerpiece, because for any output of any job, what is your individuality? What's your contribution? What's your flavor to that
Mhm.
output is all that matters. Because if you lose that individuality, then you are the first one who's gonna get replaced, right?
Mhm.
So absolutely 100% agreed on that part. But as the landscape evolved, for any technology, whether it was computers or internet or smartphones, um, or search engines, the first thing is that how are you planning on training the trainers over here, the either the instructional coaches or educators? How are you upskilling them to start being comfortable with AI, so that they can create awareness, they can teach kids about ethics, responsible use, and all that? So have you thought about that front?
We actually have. We were fortunate enough to work with a couple individuals. We brought their company on up to actually work with our students, not with our students, but with our teachers. We are going to continue to be having them come up to work with them with it and with the situation of how do we go to the situation of helping our students understand how to utilize it better? Because a lot of it goes back to what you put in is what you're going to get out.
Yeah.
How you phrase things, what questions you ask of it. And likewise, what are you searching for? Do you need to sometimes broaden that up before you really narrow it down with it to get the a better quality product at the end? But Christian has been an amazing source for us as a trainer, for our admin and also our teachers with it. And it's one of those things as we're working closely with them is how can we expand this to not just be our students and or our teachers and admin, but to our students and also community. Because same situation, if we're not preparing our adults in our community with it, we're really falling further and behind. And schools are the community centerpiece, especially in a rural setting. And we don't just educate the K or TK-12, we also deal with adult education as well. So part of it is like, okay, what things do we need to put in place to ensure the whole progression. And as we train our students and with it, we're also training our parents. Now our parents are able to do the reverse and come back to actually support their kids when the kids have questions. And it also helps to ensure that safety piece for our students too, and not going down some bad paths with the use of AI. So
Right. No, but have you guys like deployed any structured programming for teachers or student for AI literacy or AI readiness?
not with the students, but we actually have set programs and also learning templates there from with the organization that we are using to do that training for our teachers is one of the requirements that we had for all of our staff that they actually needed to complete that. We ended up doing training time. We built in two different times for that to occur with it. We'll be doing some more AI training throughout the school year. We're fortunate enough to have a weekly time for professional development for our teachers and staff. and we have that embedded throughout the school year. So our goal is to not just utilize Christian and his team, but also take a look at building up our own within our own schools to have a point where teachers can go to. We're still having those early infancy stage of, okay, how do we train our students how to properly use it?
Yeah.
We just got done passing our board policies on AI last March, April timeframe
Mhm.
with it. And now it's a situation of, okay, where's that next step with it? So not just for the use of it, but now how do we go about educating our kids on how to utilize it effectively? Um, and right now, I'll just be honest with you, it's very spotty. Some
Yeah.
teachers who are really embracing the AI and have their students using it are further along than others. And it's the amazing part of it is that AI just isn't something that we can use for English to go ahead and write our papers or social studies with it. We can utilize that within our science classes and not just on the regular bio or physics or chem, but also within even our ag side as well too. As we're taking a look at what things can we take a look at crop growth within our region, what are the ways that we can go ahead and taking a look at soil quality and what we can do to help make it become more fertile so we can actually get better production with it. So there's a lot of those tools that are right out there that we are still learning about. Um, but it's hard to believe that AI has been around a lot longer than we think.
Of course.
We've
Yeah.
just really unleashed it with the release of ChatGPT and Gemini and some of the other ones here within the last year, 2 years with it. So we're literally dealing with a 2-year-old, basically, even though we've been dealing with it, with the Google searches and our cars and some of the stuff a little bit longer through it. But we are how we raise up that child, the AI child, the AI baby, is really going to determine how that goes through those teenage years with it. And either we're going to have a little hellion running around, or we're going to have somebody who's able to be focused in and really utilizing it to make a positive impact. So, but right now, I still say, so we're at that 2-year-old stage. And we've got a lot of learning, just like new parents. You're learning how to deal with that one. Um, but it is also exciting to see that the desire of the teachers to really try to get a hold of it and try to really understand how to utilize it. Um, but it goes on beyond, okay, instead of just simply here's write letters of recommendation or here's, how to even do some of the lesson planning is how are we going to help these kids to really have um, a warehouse of information that they can pull up instantly.
Yeah.
Whereas before we were looking at textbook or teacher knowledge. Now we're dealing with warehouses of information that kids have access to, some of it being good, some of it being really on the negative or false side, and how to actually decipher the difference between those.
Yeah. No, I think that's the whole point right now that unlike other programs, for example, financial literacy was important to teach, and there were financial policies about educating students about that. It happened more sequentially, First, the state standard came, then school came up with policies, then teacher training happened, then we chose a curriculum, then we trained teachers to teach that curriculum, and then the teaching happened. But
Yeah.
in the case of AI, it's the other way around. Students are
Mhm.
using it, and we have to play a catch up game because we can't wait for the policies and the state standards and the training and curriculum to be in place because they are going to use it anyways for multiple
Mhm.
things. So I think even if we have to uh, start holding those conversation in a non-structured way, but it is something that we need to start addressing, start referring, start teaching ethics and importance of critical thinking while using AI on day one. We have to because otherwise it's gonna be like a lost battle. So in that way, I totally agree. Um, so last thing that I want to ask you is if there would have been like a magic wand right now. We don't know if that kind of AI exists or do not exist. But what would be that problem that you want it to solve for? What's your biggest problem that you want AI to solve for? It may or may not have solved it. We don't know.
That's a tough question, just to be really honest with you. And I think one of the, if it could solve any issue, I think it's how we deal with people. Our society has really become one of anger, and not the ability for empathy with it. It's an area that I think we've seen politically a lot of hate speech, basically going on both sides of
Yeah.
the aisle with it, and we've lost our civility piece with it. And I think that's some of the things that, when we really look at society, the ability to be able to come back together, to be able to have actually discussions of things and not to be holding it in anger or just to go ahead and to burn people socially through the social media platforms that we've got, but to take a look at of coming together to really look at how we can make things better. Um, and maybe AI could do that. That would be awesome. But I think that's if we were to look at anything that we could really take a look at doing is how we interact as humans with it. Because I think we've lost that piece here lately. And I think that's something which, after the pandemic, after the political turmoil that we're seeing on both the red and the blue side, we have to be able to figure out how do we come back together to work together, because our kids in the community need it. If we're just one of anger and hate, um, it's the destruction of our society when we look at it that way. And we have to be able to go ahead and to talk with each other and not just go raised to anger and who can shout louder than the other person. We have to get back to the spot of being civil towards each other.
No, yeah, well said. It's the most important problem for sure.
Yeah.
So I think I did cover up, if I'll try to understand your current efforts around career readiness of students, your challenges, and the impact of AI, and how we're going to embrace it, how we're going to train our teachers. So, is there anything that I should have picked up and I didn't pick up that you want to share with us?
I think you just sort of hit upon all those key things, and it's an exciting time to be in education, but we've been saying that a long time too. I think if we really enjoy what we're doing, we should be excited every day we come into work. As soon as we lose that excitement, it's probably time to either write a book or retire, and because our kids deserve people who are excited for them, who want to make that difference, who want to make that positive impact and make their community better. And that's what we're here for. So I appreciate the chance to come talk with you. And
No, I think it's pleasure is all mine because what you just shared is so important. And I think everyone voice is important right now. And as you said, this is the time when we start actively listening to each other, because there will be insights, there will be um, next steps that anyone should do, whether it's an aspiring leader or whether it's a current leader in a school district or students or even other ed tech companies who are working on these different problems. So yeah, thank you for sharing your knowledge, and it has been fantastic.
it's been a pleasure. Thanks again.
Perfect.
Thank you for watching. Join our journey at Tomo Club